All right. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Welcome to another episode of A Nerd Learns the NerdSeq. Messing around again today with the XOR NerdSeq, which is a tracker-style sequencer for Eurorack. I built up a patch since the last time we've talked to kind of learn what it looks like to kind of build a song out. And to build like a kind of proper track with this versus just a, just kind of more experimental stuff, making noise. So let's talk about that. Let me do a quick kind of audio demo and then we'll walk through what I got. And I got some stuff I want to try to figure out. So without further ado, let's go to this camera. Yeah, this camera. Cool. Let me just do a quick walkthrough of what I got, because I think it's pretty good. So it's still work in progress, obviously. Definitely not done yet, but to kind of give you an idea of how you would build a proper song with this thing, rather than just kind of bits and pieces. This is what I've come up with. Basically, we kind of have like 4-ish islands. They're really only using 3 at this point. So we have this island, which we could actually mark, right? And I can say, let's give this a color. Sure, green. Cool. So there's island 1. I want to mark this island as island 2. Here's my island 3. Marker. Sure, seems fine. So those are kind of my 3 main islands of the song. So the idea with this whole kind of island concept is very similar to Ableton in the kind of scene/clip launching function. So I have, each scene for each clip will launch at the end of 4 bars. I need to fix something here. That's okay. So that's kind of the way I've built this up. And so each track, so I'm using really 3 tracks here at the moment. Track 1 is this voice. If I switch to my wide view, point out things. So this voice, turn it down a little bit, is actually the most complicated of the track, of the song, rather, not the track on the NerdSeq, but the song. And it's got a lot of things going on. So it is a oscillator coming from the E370, going into the natural gate, which is going into the 100 grit, which is going into the Morph 4, which is then being modulated between the other voice, which is also part of this, which is this, which is the BIA. So all of that is kind of being combined into the Morph 4, and we're actually using the planar to kind of morph between the two, which is neat. And I also have the tetrapad tet combo over here, which is set up to kind of modulate a couple things on the 100 grit. And the natural gate. So fun times over there. So that's voice 1. Voice 2, which probably still needs some work. Still needs some work. I'm not super happy with it yet, but it's okay. So voice 2 is some dual oscillator stuff where the one oscillator is being hard synced to another on the E370, which you can see over here. These 2 rows basically are combined to make one voice via some syncing fun stuff. Those are going to, where are they going? You are going into a VCA. I thought there was a filter on here. Oh, I think it's, yeah, it's going into the Wasp. That sounds right. Maybe it's the Wasp. Yeah, not quite happy with that one yet. Still needs some work, but it works for the moment. And then finally, we have this voice in a couple seconds once it catches up. Boom. That is the Decker's voice, and that is going into the Trashmaster at the moment. So let me do this. Yeah, it should be still should be. I can't talk today. I got gum in my mouth. That's probably part of the reason. But if I switch over to the wide camera, nope, this one overhead. There we go. So you can see, this is my kind of control panel, and let's talk about a couple things. So just out of frame over here, I have the planar 2. The only thing the planar 2 is doing at the moment is morphing between those two bass-ish voices. So if we hear that, oh, and sorry, those are going through the magneto, which is doing the delay and other kind of fun modulation on that. So planar 2, morphing between the two using the Journalog Morph 4. Tetrapad is adjusting the decay on the natural gate. We have a really short. And the pressure on this channel is actually modulating the open on the natural gate, so I can like manually override it if I wanted to, which is kind of cool. This other channel over here is actually modulating the frequency cutoff on the 100 grit. You can hear I have this full open. You get the idea. So some fun kind of hands-on stuff there. The real special sauce is the pressure points, which, let me play the chords in the background so you can hear what I'm talking about. So, how am I doing that? What is that magic? Well, that magic is the Symphonian. Bam, up here. So, I have the pressure points set up to correspond to the steps on the Symphonian. And as you can see, probably see in the lights more than anything, but as I scroll my hands over, each of the 8 steps on the pressure points, these 2 are joined together behind the hood. So it's all one, basically. It's 8 keys. Those are being joined together, and those are going to choose the step of the symphonian chord sequencing. So the symphonian is basically requantizing those three main channels at the moment, plus creating the own chord voice, which is this. So if I do... Right, you get the idea. So the cool thing about that is that I can, the way I've been sequencing as of late with the symphonian in the mix is I need to know basically two scales in my head to think about, and that is C major and C minor. Because of that, basically when I'm programming in steps, what I'm actually not thinking about is C major and C minor. I'm actually thinking of the intervals of the major and minor scale, because symphonian is requantizing them based on how I choose. So by thinking that way, I kind of pull myself out of the needing to think about music theory box and letting symphonian handle the music theory, which works. Still learning on that one, I would say, but it is functional, which is cool. Yeah, so that's the patch. Let's play a little bit more of it. Why not? Why not? So you get the idea. You can get the idea on that. So what I want to try now was suggested to me to attempt. I want to try and use the inputs. There's 4 inputs on the NerdSeq, and I want to use them to record in CV. So I have, sure, let's use this channel here because it seems to have a pretty wide range. I set this to be the input. So I'm going to zoom in on the screen again so I can there we go. Cool. Let me turn off the coloring. Whoa. Because I think it makes it a little bit hard to read on this. There we go. Just for legibility, because it kind of blows out the camera there a little bit, and I don't need it for what I'm doing. But let's see here. How do we record? So I have not looked at the menu or the manual on how to figure this out. So you're going to learn with me, which is good. I think it's a, you know, we can talk about how things get recorded in. Hey, look, input, record setup. This is under, if I go to the main screen, if I hit project, there is input, record setup. So I'm going to hit OK. Input, more input, Stephanie. So I want input 1 to go to what does live input mean? pass to CV1. Input 1 record, that's what I want. Or actually, let's do mod 3, because mod 3 we got wired in at the moment. Okay. Okay. So let's just go to this pattern. If I hit play on this, nothing. So how do I record in? There's nothing else on this track, by the way, which is why you can't hear anything. Let's see. Nerd. Nope. Pattern. Nerd. Track setup. Whoops. Nothing on my cheat sheet, so that's not good. What I would have expected to see, right, is somehow as I'm, and maybe there's like, I need to like arm recording somehow. Oh, duh, there's a big record button on the thing. I'm dumb. So if I say shift record, does that do anything? Oh, it did. Hey, look. If I scrub this really fast, there we go. Okay, cool. And if I do stop record, we should stop recording. Cool. So there you go. There's recording. It just says shift up and making you look sure you're doing the thing you want to do. So let me clear these and we can mess around with this a little bit. So if I do mark, boom, shift delete. Cool. So now let's say I want to like record a couple values. Let me get a beat going so we can hear what we're doing. There we go. Nice beat. So if I say I do kind of wish there was a way to like follow the playhead. You know? Maybe there is a way to do this, I just don't know. Anyway, cool. Are we still recording? No. Okay, so shift stopping or stopping will stop the recording like you would expect. So that's cool. Let's just verify that what we're doing is here. Let's break this boy for now and bring it up to the data. Mr. Data, go to the nearest replicator. Oh, now if I hit play. Yep, there it goes. It's stepped. So that's an important thing to note, is that it is a stepped recording. It is not smooth like butter. Out a bit. Let me see if you guys can see this on this screen. Okay, never mind. A little bit hard to do. I have Mordac's data up in front of me as an oscilloscope, but I don't think you can see it from that angle. So, sorry. Anyway, recording in seems pretty reasonable. Let's try using that to record in pitch. So under track setup, again, I'm going to use this to, instead of recording mod 3, I'm going to do CV3, which is note, which should be this column. So now if I go back to my pattern, I do shift record again. Yep. Cool. So we definitely recorded in some stuff. Yeah. So that's neat. It is kind of quantizing it down to a note, which is useful. So if you wanted to have fun with that, and maybe let's try that. What if we, rather than doing the kind of slider input, what if we get a longer patch cable? I'm going to take kind of one of the slower moving outputs from the OCHD, which is a kind of triangle LFO, and I'm going to use that to record in pitches instead. So up at the top, so yeah, so I mean it's doing the thing. Obviously, like, it's trying to go over, like, I think it's like a 5-octave range, which makes sense. 0 to 5 volts, basically. It's interesting because I think, let's actually run this into, sorry about that. I run this into the channel on data, turn that channel on. Right, so this does go negative on oct. Oct goes negative. Does the recording go negative? Let me just clear this out again. Delete. By the way, these buttons, I'm starting to get the hang of using them as a kind of page jump. Took me a little bit to get used to that, but just FYI. So interesting. So it does not want to do negative. It does not want to do negative pitch. What about if I change that again to do negative mod? Does it do the same thing for mod? Pattern. Okay. not do negative voltages, period. That's probably in the manual. I just haven't read it because I'm lazy. But good to know, right? If you wanted to do, you know, pitch values below 0 volts, you would have to not do that. You'd have to figure out some way to offset the value to get what you wanted. Which does bear a question on how high we can get on this. That's not a big deal. The other thing that's interesting, right, is it only records, so when it's recording pitch, it's recording it in time, which is good. It is stepped, so it's not recording smooth, you know, like the triangle, or the triangle wave we're giving it, right, is a smooth wave, but we're getting stepped pitches going through, and it's, you know, stepped based on the sequencer step. So if you were trying to like record in, like we're doing right now, we're recording in an LFO as pitch, or even just recording it in here, it's not going to be what you think it's going to be, right? It's not recording in the pure, you know, unquantized, unstepped, smooth CV. Now if we wanted to, when we played back, we could add glide. So we can do glide, that's probably too high, but something like that. And now when we play it back, so that's fun to note. Let me slow this down. Let me get a slower moving LFO. This guy, this is super slow. And we're gonna go back to recording in pitch. Go to our pattern, record. It's literally, just because the LFO is so small. So that's kind of fun, actually. What does that sound like? Let's add some glide to that. So that's fun. If that's what you wanted, that is pretty fun. I like that. Obviously, I think the real purpose of the input is for not necessarily recording random things, that you definitely could, or even random is the wrong word, but recording kind of unquantized, things that aren't already pitch, right? Like I think, you know, you certainly can if you wanted to. We just proved it, but I think, you know, I think the interesting thing is, oh, that's an interesting thought. What if, sorry, I got sidetracked. Anyway, but if you, I think realistically for the pitch part, you want to be feeding it in a real pitch input. It is quantizing it, to be fair. It does seem to be quantizing it to a chromatic scale. It's not necessarily sticking to any sort of scale. Obviously, one thing we haven't kind of dove into yet is the concept of patches and tables. But you can do tables that basically establish the kind of quantization that you want in the NerdSeq. For my purposes, I don't really need it because I'm using the Symfonian for that. But if you wanted to, you certainly could define your kind of keys in here and do key changes and modulations and stuff like that, and do the transposition, bam, 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 in the NerdSeq. So that's fun. What I want to try is just a kind of learning exercise. Let me get another longer patch cable. So obviously there's 4 inputs, and you can record multiple things at once. So the question is, do you have to be looking at the thing you're recording to record into it, or is it just if I do shift record period, it's recording into it period? So let's do this. So if I go to so I have this recording in as notes. I'm going to clear this out again. Boom, 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 boom. Shift delete. So this is now empty again. I'm going to use the other CV and go to create a new pattern on track 4, which we're not even using. Whoops. There we go. That's not what I wanted. There we go. There we go. New pattern, empty. And I want input 2 to be recording into notes on that channel. Right. Cool. So now if I go back to my pattern, so I'm looking at the pattern for track 4. Track 3 is right there. I'm going to play both of these. They're both playing. Right now they're both playing. I'm going to do shift record on both of those. So the fact we didn't hear anything. Oh. Never mind. There's a note. That's cool. So, okay, cool. So you do not have to be looking at the individual patterns to be recording into them. We learned that today. We also learned that you can record both modulation and CV. What are our other options in here? What else can we record into under the record menu? So we have nothing. The note data for 1 through 6. The modulation data for 1 through 6. The gates for 1 through 6. So that's a separate thing. So if you wanted to, you could do pitch and gate to pitch and gate pairs on here to actually record in, you know, a kind of sequence rather than just straight notes. Good to know. And again, 1 through 6 on that. Triggers. So if you didn't want the gate, you just wanted a trigger, you can record those in. Ooh, it automatically pairs them for you, which is cool. CV note and gate, CV note and trigger. Cursor CV, cursor gate. I don't know what that means. Presumably that means that you can move the cursor around. Let's look at that. What does that look like? I don't know what that looks like, but let's find out. So input 2. I'm going to shift this back to none just so I don't get confused. And I'm going to say record. I don't really know what it's doing. It's recording something. Sure, XOR. So I'm not sure what that means. That might be a manual lookup. I'm not sure what it means when it says recording the cursor CV. It does say cursor record disabled, so I don't really know what that means. Not sure on that. You can record, ooh, interesting. So because this has its own kind of sampling engine, you can actually record the sample pitch for both the tracks on the sample. You can choose the slot, which is interesting. I'm not sure how it assigns those, but it might be worth some fun stuff to try and figure out. Presumably it like divides whatever your inputs are by 8 and picks the sample based off that, but that's neat. Yeah. So that's recording in. So obviously I don't have, I'm getting the MIDI expander. I don't know if you can see it on here, but I do have a kind of slot right here, which is for the 2 HP TRS MIDI expander. So when I get that, I'll be able to mess with the MIDI recording in, of which there's a lot. So it does record in each individual channel, which is neat for all tracks. So that's cool. It does have the kind of MIDI step input, which I have to figure out what that means yet. I know a couple people I've been talking to are really interested in that. So if I zoom out here, the plan is to have the instrument, which if you guys have seen this channel or are familiar with, it's a big grid of lights that uses a kind of fourths tuning to be able to punch in notes. So it would be neat to be able to have that here as a way to kind of quickly record in ideas, punch in notes quickly. I have stuff falling on the floor, but I have this, I found this on Amazon. It is a MIDI to TRS. This should be MIDI type A based on what the spec is on the back, but it's right angle, which is nice. So it's not gonna like sit high up off of here, and it's plenty long enough to route to the instrument, which has the MIDI outputs right here on the side. And then I get to do fun stuff because it also will have MIDI out, and I can bring the MIDI out up without flipping you guys off here. I bought the TRS expander for the disting and the FH2. So then we can get real funky, and we can actually use one of the MIDI tracks, which, again, another thing I haven't played with on the NerdSeq, but we can use one of the MIDI tracks on the NerdSeq to sequence things like the disting EX, specifically its new poly wavetable stuff, which seems really neat and I want to play with. So fun things to look forward to. I am about out of breath at the moment. This was, again, kind of just a high-level overview. So one thing I was wanting to mess with, which I think I need to work on. So this track, I have it set up to be a one-shot. The problem is it stops the whole track. So I'm not sure if there's a way to just stop the single pattern. So under one of the MIDI effects, there's a thing called Special Effects, which has its own whole list of things. Let me zoom in so you guys can see what I am looking at. That looks somewhat legible, so I'll leave it there. Apologies for the wiggling. But if I step through these, we have track end, stop track end, stop track now, stop song now, not sure what that means, set clock, reset clock, pulse clock, set. Table tick. So that's it. There's only 11 at the moment. Or sorry, no, that's not 11, that's 17. So I'm not sure what stop single now. Maybe that's what I want. Maybe that's what I want. What if I do that? So if I do, I go back here and applied on. Okay, so then it stops. So it doesn't loop, which is what I wanted. But what I was running into issues just now when I was demoing it for you guys is if I play, for example, I want to play this island, and then I want to play this island right after that. Oh, it stops the whole song. That's not what I want. So, back to the drawing board. I don't want it to stop. So that's what it means when it says song stop, which makes sense when you think about it. So what I want to do is just make this a one-shot. How do I make it a one-shot without stopping the whole track? Maybe there's another effect. Not sure on that. I'll have to figure that out. And that might be a manual question as well that I just haven't figured out yet, but cool. So, again, we're going to call it there. Thank you guys for checking this out. If you guys have questions on the NerdSeq, things you want me to try, things you want me to check out, let me know. Drop me a line in the comments or direct message me if you guys are on all of the Discords chatting me up. I like this thing. I like it a lot. It was fun to build a song with it. I think I actually like the song, so I'm going to keep working on this patch. But yeah, fun times. Fun times. Cool. Peace.